He's like, there are so many opportunities for those soft skills. And he set me up with an interview with the consulting company that he was working for
Oh my
within
gosh.
weeks.
Wow.
And I had to make a really quick decision because I was going to BU Law. I had put money down and had an apartment and I was there. And before the end of August that year, I had had my first interview with this company out of Annapolis, Maryland, and they offered me a job to come down doing business continuity or continuity of operations in DC.
Welcome to the Leadership Story, where we talk about real women, real leadership, and real resilience. I'm Lisa Jones. In this episode, I'm talking with Tara Jones on how one conversation with her uncle at the Jersey Shore changed everything. One introduction, one leap of faith. She's built a 15-year career in a field she never studied, went from consultant to CEO, and says her leadership story can be summed up in one word: luck.
Okay. So today I'm talking with someone whose career journey is a perfect example of how the right direction at the right time can change everything. Let me introduce you to our guest. Tara Jones, who I affectionately refer to as the other Mrs. Jones, has more than 15 years of experience helping organizations build and mature resilience programs. She's the co-founder and CEO of QS Consulting. She holds a BA in biology and a PhD in environmental and behavioral toxicology from Cornell University. She also holds a MBCP from DRI International and a PMP from PMI, which I really want to do that, but I don't think I'll ever do it. We'll talk about that some more. She currently serves as president of the Hampton chapter of the Association of Continuing Professionals. Now, on a personal note, she is a yoga and travel enthusiast, and over the past several years has combined the two by joining yoga retreats around the world, which sounds wonderful. And if that's not enough, she's a busy mom of 3 sons, age 8, 9, and 10, who keep her on her toes with all things sports: tennis, golf, football, baseball, and that's just to name a few things. So, Tara, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Lisa, the other Mrs. Jones. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, this is wonderful. So, listen, before I dive in about your leadership story, and since you are originally a South Jersey girl and we both are Philadelphia Eagle fans, go Birds!
Go Birds!
Go Birds! Now,
Two-peat. We'll take a two-peat
yes,
this year.
Pete, exactly. So that game that last game that was just on with the Packers, and I know this will be old, but did you watch that game with bated breath? Because I wanted to throw things at the television. It took everything in me. How about you?
Well, for me, I gotta say, I went to bed at halftime. I
Okay.
got kids. Those kids wake up at 6 a.m. I cannot afford an 11 o'clock night. I cannot afford being exhausted by what I just witnessed. So I didn't even check the score till the morning. That's how you balance. That's the
Yes.
work-life Birds balance, right?
Yes, it is. Definitely, definitely. And my understanding, your family has been season ticket holders since 86. Do you get to go to any games at all?
Yeah, well, I mean, I remember going with my dad when I was a kid, and my sister's taken over. So listen, if anyone wants season tickets, she's happy to sell them, or not season tickets, a good game ticket. She'll
Yes.
take them because she knows there's a profit margin there. So no, we've had an opportunity to go to a lot of really good games. She sent us to the
Nice.
Dallas game. My husband is a Dolphins fan, so we got to go see the Dolphins. Eagles play at the Link. That was years ago, and the Dolphins actually won, which
Oh.
was weird. I know. We won't see that for a long time. Don't
No,
worry.
not at all. No.
But no, very lucky. It's so exciting. We
Nice.
went to a preseason game this year, and there's just nothing like the energy in that
It isn't.
stadium. So
Yes.
it's
Yes.
unbelievable.
Yes. Well, give me your sister's name so I can make sure I can get some tickets on one of these next year. I'm going to be on it.
You gotta go. They might be 400 level, but they're 50-yard line, and
Hey,
you see all the action
it's
and
all the action. Yes,
levels.
it really is. And I just went to a game. I took my daughters and we had a great time. So yes, I bleed green. So we could talk
Yeah,
about that forever. But let's
forever.
move on. Let's move on. I really, the one thing I love about you, Tara, we've met a couple years ago, again, through conferences, but the thing that is just fascinating to me that, first of all, you're a PhD holder in toxicology. Don't know how that references to business continuity, but tell me how you started out going to Cornell and what was the reason, or what was your original path when you started in that at Cornell?
Yeah, that's so fun. So, I was a pre-med like bio track kid. Like 75% of the kids that enter at Cornell and only 20% come out that way. But I always wanted to do something medically related. And I was really passionate about it and I fought really hard through some really difficult classes. I stayed summers to take organic chemistry and to work in labs to build my resume and do all the things you need to do to get into med school, including take the MCAT. And right before it was time to apply to medical school, I had done, well, again, all the things. I was burnt out. And I said, there's literally no way I could be successful in medical school. So I didn't even apply. I ended up talking with my mentor at the university, whose lab I had been working in for 3 of the 4 years I was there. She said, like, I would love to have you continue on as a grad student. So I applied, I got in, but I had no funding for it. And grad school is expensive. And really, stars aligned. I had a whole bunch of different plans for different grad schools to try to figure out my way through grad school, maybe into medical school at some point. And over the summer, she called and said she had secured me funding through the NIH Environmental Toxicology Training Grant and that I could come back to Cornell and do my work for free to me. So I was
Oh
like,
my.
I'm in. It didn't even take a second to agree. First of all, she was an amazing mentor, amazing leader, another working mom who had done all of the things and just constantly publications and proven herself over and over again in the industry, that she was an inspiration to me. Her name's Barbara Strupp. She still works at Cornell. She's
Nice.
amazing. She's a tenured
Nice.
professor, if you ever want to look her up. And so I decided just to go for it. I got into, enrolled in the PhD program and I was in it in environmental toxicology. The work I did specifically was around prenatal cocaine exposure and its effects on attention
Wow.
and neurodevelopment. And I still talk about it with passion because I felt like I made some real breakthroughs there. I was one of the first researchers to ever correlate, because correlation is not causation, but to
Right.
correlate
Right.
changes in the brain with specific changes in attention. And these are things we see in kids all the time, but we know the medications we give them don't work. So my goal, it was all designed to be a drug study in the end. First, quantify the impacts and then introduce a medication to challenge and figure out why Ritalin doesn't work for these kids that have attention disorders but have been exposed to cocaine. That was the whole goal. So I finished before we got to the drug study, but I had
Mm.
always hoped to find a way into those epidemiological settings where I
Yeah.
could work within communities and I could be part of what the challenges that these kids face. But it wasn't a straight path and turned
Yeah.
out to be way more difficult than I thought. And so I
Yeah.
kind of had to pivot early on, like just as I got my degree, just as I defended, I was like, I can't find a way to be happy in a dark lab, like doing this
Mm.
academic research, if I can't have that environmental impact to the communities in which we're really seeing this. So
Yeah.
I knew that academia wasn't for me at that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. If I didn't know why I was calling you the other Ms. Jones, I understand now, because I literally also, like you, was planning to be a physician. I went to high school on a healthcare track. I went to college, and I was doing pre-med, and that first semester kicked my butt and I was like, I can't do it.
Yeah. It's challenge to weed out the weak, I guess. But
Yes.
just because you're not good or set up for one specific type of
Yeah.
stressor in life does not mean you're not going to be successful at other types of
Yes.
work. And so for whatever reason, I felt, guided to do something different. And I mean, I'm so happy with how it turned out, and I'm happy to send people the link to my dissertation or my publications if they ever want
Yes.
to know. But I'll just give you a spoiler alert. crack is bad for babies. So
Is it?
don't do it.
Don't do it. Yes,
Crack is
yes.
whack. Don't do it.
Correct as whack. I love it. So, in saying that, you went from your dissertation, and then once you left college and you finished your dissertation, how did you get to business continuity? Because again, I don't
Yeah.
put those two together. Uh,
A lot of it's really hard, and I've had to explain this over and over again. Like I said, I'm still passionate about the work I did in my doctoral work, but this was what I would call a lucky break. So I finished my dissertation, and I actually had a plan to go to law school because I was like, okay, well, maybe I can make impacts through environmental and pharmaceutical law. Like this is always like I'm going to figure out a way to make this work, and so that had been my goal, and I had applied and gotten into Boston University Law School. And so I had a break in my time between the defense and starting school. And so I went back to visit my parents in New Jersey, and some family were also visiting at the same time because it was in the summer at the Jersey Shore. And one of my uncles was there, and he just had like a very plain sit down with me. And he said, "You are 28 years old. What are you doing?" And I said, I don't know. I mean, it's 2008. There are no jobs, it's
yeah.
the recession,
Yeah.
and I'm really good at learning new things. I love learning new things. So I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do this law school thing.
Right.
And he said, "You're good at learning and you're great at speaking, and you can communicate the most difficult things to people that don't understand even the baseline." He's like, "There are so many opportunities for those soft skills." And he set me up with an interview with the consulting company that he was working for at that time
Oh my
within
gosh.
weeks.
Wow.
And I had to make a really quick decision because I was going to BU Law. I had put money down and had an apartment, and I was there. And before the end of August that year, I had had my first interview with this company out of Annapolis, Maryland, and they offered me a job to come down doing business continuity or continuity of operations
Yeah.
for Walter Reed Army Medical Center in DC. And
Oh
I just
my.
took that leap. I looked at my uncle and I said, "You're going to hold my hand, right?" And he said, "Yeah, I
Oh
got you."
my.
I took that leap,
Nice.
and it's changed everything. So
Yeah.
luck and trust and people looking out for you and people seeing like the deeper meaning and capabilities behind the degree or the
Yeah.
education or the accolades or the whatever, that was everything. He
Yeah.
he trusted me, and I owe him literally my life. I tell him that all
Oh,
the time.
and
Yeah.
it speaks again, shout out to soft skills because we keep talking about this. And degrees are great. I'm not against
Mhm.
degrees. If anything, you want to constantly learn, but not developing those soft skills. That's like the special sauce in all of this. You can learn a lot of things, but if you can't apply it with those soft skills and use that in any type of situation, it's just leverage. I see it as leverage.
Absolutely. And I didn't have a resume at the time. I was 28, but I had a CV. It had all of my
Yeah,
publications, it had
right.
all of my research information. It had nothing to do with like getting a job.
Yeah.
And he said, like, "I'm going to put you up. I'm just going to send you over to my boss in this consulting company. And I think you're a good fit. I think you can do it. I have no doubt, but I need your resume." And I
Yeah.
said, "Uncle Mike, I don't have a resume."
Like, what's a
So
resume?
so he said, "Send me what you have." And the funny thing is, in preparation for this, I actually found it, what he put together. And
My,
it was all about the soft skills. That's what he
wow.
pulled out. So he read all of these things that I had done scientifically, academically, and he was able to read into them. And I think one of the reasons I got that particular position with Walter Reed is because I had to be able to speak to generals and very high ranking individuals, the commanding general of the North Atlantic Regional Medical Command, about literally like the telephone and like how to
Oh,
have emergency communications. And so to be
wow.
able to make it make sense at their level
Yeah.
and but still get the point across about like your need for resilience. That was something that, I mean, I had the skill set to do, but it wasn't because I have a degree in environmental toxicology. It was
Right.
because I had formulated and honed those soft skills over the last 5, 6 years.
Oh my goodness. In saying that, now you've moved from your PhD, figuring out where you're going to go, was preparing to be a lawyer, and now you're thrusted into this new, very new, because even during that time, continuity of operations was still fairly a new field, or at least the government kind of did it. It wasn't definitely in private sector at all that we call it business continuity. But what helped you learn, or how did you feel when you first got into into consulting and into this space?
Terrified would be an easy way to say it. I mean, of course, like you're just like, go to this office and go sit at this desk and produce. And so being in that first role, actually, I feel was really fortunate because it was related to the Army. So it was all under the Army 500-3 regulation, AR 500-3 about continuity of operations. So I had a checklist, which today I would call a compliance checklist, right? Like, let's just make sure we hit these points. And I wouldn't say I produced a document that really made the organization at that time more resilient, but
Right.
it was focused. It had clear definitions and guidelines about what needed to be included. And I developed really good relationships with people within that consulting organization, as well as at Walter Reed to get the institutional knowledge that they
Yeah.
had, and was able to put together. Basically, it was just their document. It started as just their communications annex, and then they ended up having me they renewed for the entire North Atlantic Regional Medical Command to do all of the COOP plans for all of the hospitals around the country that were part of that command. And it was a great experience, but I just leaned into the knowledge that was available, whether institutional or documented, and just did my best to meet those goals.
Yeah. Yeah. And from a I guess support perspective, what were some of the people that really guided you along that way?
Yeah, so I was again very fortunate to have my uncle hold my hand a little bit. He was not in my face where he was micromanaging my day by
Yeah.
any means. He but he would ask. He would be proactive and say, "How are you feeling? Do you want me to review this document?" etc. until he literally stepped back. He's like, "You've got this. I don't
Yeah.
need to." So I had him and I had, again, that whole organizational structure of the company that I was working for behind me. And we all ended up moving together from that contract into another contract for the Information Technology Agency and just worked as a team. And I think
Yeah.
that's the key is you don't
Yeah.
know everything and you don't need to. There are plenty of people out there that can provide you that input and can help you individually or as a team find success. And so I just leaned into what was basically handed to me as part of this, package of this particular contract. And I learned so much that
Nice.
that was where I started. That launched me.
Nice. That's amazing. It's just amazing that you could go from one thing to another. We don't always think of how much others influence us or help us along the way. And it's when we look back and see those that helped us, it's encouraging and humbling all at the same time. Now, granted, we need to rely on what we know and, like I said, soft skills, our education, but to have someone support us to move forward is always it's an experience and you can appreciate it even more when when you are successful.
I mean, sometimes you need that push. But the other thing is that I have 27 cousins on that side. And I don't see my uncle sitting down with 99% of them and having that same conversation. There was
Nice.
something about like what he saw in me, what I had cultivated in myself to put out into the world that he said, we can take this and we can build it. He saw something, but it's not just luck, right? It was it was luck that we showed up together that same weekend and we had that same conversation, that conversation at that time, but it it happened because of what I had done
Yeah.
and what I had wanted and what I had put out in my energy into the world.
Yeah.
And I mean, I am forever grateful for him. And funny little story. So he's ready for retirement. He's still been doing similar work as a govy now for 20 plus years after that conversation. And I saw him at a wedding over the summer and he said, well, I'm getting ready to retire. So, if you have any consulting work that you might want to push my way. And I said, I'm sorry, I'm going to need to see your resume first. So a little full circle moment,
Yes.
but I would hire him too because of what he
Yeah.
put out in the world. So anyway, yeah,
That's
but you
great.
really do, you lean on those teams and everyone that you meet is there to teach you something. And so it's just, what are you willing to hear? What are you willing
Oh
to
my
learn?
goodness. I love that. I'm gonna put that on a bumper sticker. I don't know. On a t-shirt. You need to put that on a t-shirt or trademark
That's
that.
right.
Yeah,
Trademark.
copyright that. Yeah, trademark, copyright. Put that. Yeah, we can be in business. Okay. So you did your consulting, and then how did you make that pivot? So now you are a small business owner now. You are entrepreneur. How did you go from consulting to deciding I want to take this newer leap and start QS consulting?
So, I mean, there was a lot of time between that. So 2008 was when I started the first job with Walter Reed, and then moved into another couple of contracts with them, and then kind of saw government work as a different kind of planning. And I was looking for something that was a little bit more, that gave me a little bit more say so in how things were done. So I moved to another job, and again, my, you know, kismet, it was all with me all the time because the person that I ended up landing under at this second job, she said, I'm hiring you to be my replacement. I want to leave in 3 years. And so with that, it was just somebody who was like, I am going to pour into you all of the knowledge and all of the experience, and I'm going to let you lead here because I am trying to step back. And again, such a great mentor, taught me so much. And when she did step back and I took over, I ended up being the corporate crisis manager for a company that existed in 90 countries and 100,000 employees.
Wow.
And it was just this massive undertaking that was just like throwing yourself right in because anything could happen at any moment.
Yes.
And you learned so much. Uh, Having all of that experience behind me, then I went to nonprofit. I said, let me see what this looks like. So I didn't just settle into a sector or say, this is what I'm good at. I just wanted to keep learning. I wanted to figure out how things were different in the resilience world between government, for profit, nonprofit. Getting to that nonprofit was, again, kind of back to those roots of wanting to figure out how to give back, how to participate in my community. And that was another amazing experience. And then life dealt me a hand where my husband he's active duty military, was sent to a different location and I had to relocate. And at the time, the place I was working in Washington, D.C. did not approve remote work.
Okay.
And so I had to stop. I mean, I love that job, but I had a family. And so
Yeah.
I stopped working for a couple of years and moved to Kansas and, you know, raised a couple of kids, had a couple
Yeah.
more.
Yes.
And and then one day got a call from a colleague that had also left that same nonprofit and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about starting up something. I think you'd be a great addition to it. Are you interested?" And it literally took me 0 seconds to say yes. Like, I was like, absolutely. Like, because otherwise my option is to try to go back into the working world with 3
Yeah.
kids under 3 and figure out how to manage that with, a husband that's retiring from the military. And I was like, sure.
Right.
And so that's it. It wasn't my idea to start a consulting company, but it was my idea to drive it forward. And
Right.
both that original partner, there were 4 of us when we started, but the original one that called me and I are the 2 remaining, and we had the same ambition that we weren't
Yeah.
going to just coast and grab what we could get. We wanted to build and we wanted to make this something meaningful. So having that partner,
Mm-hmm.
business partner and one of my best friends aligned as we decided to build this, go on this journey of QS was fundamental. I probably could have done it on my own, but I don't know if I would have actually had the confidence to take that leap and go for it without
I was
somebody else giving me the push.
I was literally about to say that. Did you ever have any inkling that you could be an entrepreneur? Because I feel the same way where, feel like parts of me want to do something new, but I've always said I don't have that entrepreneurial spirit. And now I'm launching a podcast. Who knew? But similar to you, I don't think I had that confidence, but I'm learning that, things can change. And sometimes you just got to try it and see what happens.
Well, you have to listen to what other people are telling you because they aren't making it up, especially if they're going to go into business with you. Once again, just like my first experience, like somebody saw something in me that was real, that I had cultivated, but that my confidence wasn't there to say, I'm going to make this the forefront of my future. And so to
Yeah.
have somebody else lean into you and build you up, I mean, that's not a bad thing. You don't need to be a self made billionaire without a little, encouragement from your friends. It's what they're there for. And
Yeah.
so, just a little push is all I needed to feel like, yeah, I do have this. And this is the kind of work that I want to be doing. I want to
Yeah.
be able to help a lot of organizations, not just one, and a lot of practitioners find their own voice because
Yeah.
that's what I do. Give them confidence as a consultant. I come in or my team comes in and we say, your foundation is great and you just need a little boost. We
Right.
give you the boost, but we're not taking away from anything that you've built. And I think that
Yeah.
drives them to be a little bit more successful or assertive in, their business cases and their executive briefings and getting things moving in their organizations. So it was a leap of faith, but it worked out.
And it also you're building trust with people, particularly in our space where it's usually just one of us doing all the things for the program, and to be able to have someone come in to not only support you but give you successful tools to make you look great, because ultimately you make your client look great, you look great, and then they want to continue doing business with you, or so it's also helpful. Like you said, I mean, think people tend to, again, goes back to community support, that networking that you do. It's not always just I pulled myself up from our bootstraps. Guess what? Some of us don't even have boots and we need to borrow them from some other people,
Yeah.
or we forget that people gave us those boots to pull up on the bootstraps.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things about like even to be specific about resilience is when I talk to really anybody, potential client or just colleague or just anybody that is in the space, I've been there. I just said I ran a corporate crisis management and corporate business continuity program as a team of one for
Yes.
100,000 people
Wow.
in 90 countries. And there were regional leads, et cetera, but I was the corporate person and I was the only one.
Yeah.
And so when I talk to people, I can hear them. I feel like one of the reasons I'm successful as an entrepreneur is because I'm authentic,
Yeah.
because I really am listening and I understand the struggle. And when I'm at conferences or, at a booth exhibiting, I'm not selling to you. I'm listening to you. And if there's an opportunity for me to then help, I'm obviously going to make that pitch and offer to help, but also just to know that you are not the only person in this position where you were promised a team and a software and a this and a that. And
Right.
you're just stuck there with Excel spreadsheets and, wishing every day would be done, which it never
Yes.
is because in the
Yes.
world of crisis, it's never done. I get it. And I really think bringing authenticity to the table is a key to success.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Do you see that your leadership style is being authentic, and what other things do you see are your strengths in your leadership style, or how would you define how you lead people?
So on my team, we have about 15 consultants right now that work for QS on my side, which is the business continuity side of the house. I am not a micromanager. I lead the way I would want to be led,
Hmm.
which is supportive, but trust me. So I lead with, I would not hire a person that I didn't trust. So I'm leading with that. I trust you to do the work. And if you need escalation support, I am here and I will always have your back, but I'm not going to micromanage you. And I think that fosters that sense of trust on both sides, where if they really are struggling, they'll come back to me. But then also I can allow them to be as productive as they are able to be because I know that they've got this, which is
Yeah.
something people have always given me, was that sense of trust.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's very important. It's to me, I feel, you can micromanage and you could be successful for a certain amount of time, but how long would people live with that or stick with that? I mean, there are some people, it's a very small number, who like to be micromanaged. I'm not one of those, obviously. But I mean, there are people that need to know, you need to tell them what to do all the time. But to me, I always felt like the most successful managers are the ones that allow their people to do their work and check in and give them the support. It seems to allow for people like that, they tend to stick with you more or longer.
Yeah. And, there's a difference, right, between managing and micromanaging. That's why they have their own terms. And so
Yes.
managing doesn't mean just let you go off and do whatever you want. Managing
Right.
means we have a scope of work and we need to check in and make sure that we're hitting these milestones and that the client is continually happy with whatever is being delivered. If
Mhm.
there's ever any inconsistency between what the client needs and what we're delivering, then that's my role to step in and figure out why, resolve it, whether on whoever's side it is. But to micromanage is to tell somebody where to be at every moment, or, this is the only way that we do things. And you can have a methodology that you deliver as a leader, like we provide methodologies when it comes to readiness evaluations or optimizations or program build. We have methodology, but I also hired these amazing individuals who have their own experiences that just provide so much more value on top of what I can say. So, of
Mhm.
course, I want to take their input. And if there are opportunities for us to improve our methodologies based on the input of my consultants, I'm going to take that because I don't have pride when it comes to the delivery. Just want it to be what was promised. And
Yeah.
so removing that pride as a business owner from it and saying, okay, if we can do better, we're going to do better, whether it's my way or your way, then I think that's a tremendous strength in leadership.
Yeah, because in the end, it gives you even a more successful product. And again, and it helps you grow and it helps your organization grow. So I love that. Love that a lot. So before we wrap up, one question that I always have, and we're going to end it. Well, before we even end, final thoughts that you have about, networking, being lucky, what would you say to a person, a woman right now who is in that spot where they are unsure if they should pivot or are looking to pivot? Because especially now, we see a lot of downsizing of organizations as we get towards the end of the year. What are some tips that you would give people at this time?
Well, trust your instincts, first of all. And that comes from a personal and a professional level. So if something doesn't feel right with the organization that you're with, or you find yourself just being promised that you're going to be able to do X, Y, and Z, and you're not seeing delivery on that from the powers that be, whether it be your executive board or your direct leadership, you need to trust that instinct and strategize either on how to flip the script to get what you want or be willing to move on, which is a risk. And I think that's really what it comes down to. As resilience practitioners, we're always talking about taking the risks for our clients, right? acceptable risk, risk tolerance, risk appetite, mitigating, deferring, transferring risk. Like,
Yeah.
what do you do? But we need to do that individually for our careers and for our lives. The decisions, every decision that you make is a calculated risk to your future, and really being thoughtful in what that looks like, what you're willing to tolerate, and where a change needs to happen. You have all of the data that you need. You
Yeah.
have the information. What is it they say when people show you who they are, believe them?
Yes.
I think the same is true with businesses or even with, your leadership team. They are showing you
Yeah.
how they value your role or what they think about continuity in that organization. And if that doesn't resonate with where you want to go, then you need to be willing to make a change.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, you have so many nuggets. Well, oh my okay. Let me stay on tracks, Lisa. Stay focused. So I like to end on a question that I'm asking all my guests. And really the question is, so what is the one word that defines your leadership story and why?
I'm so glad you said this to me early, by the way, because I was like, oh my gosh, I have to really think about this one word. And I'm so glad you're going to give me a chance to explain it also, because I said
Yes.
it several times in this brief conversation, which is luck.
Mhm.
But luck, you've heard it said before, it's not just chance. Luck is preparation meets opportunity. And I think that really defines how I have been able to grow as a leader. Nothing has been just given to me. Everything had to be a choice. And obviously, I've been very blessed in my opportunities, the choices that have been presented. But I have had to make a conscious decision at every step along the way. And each of those steps prepared me for something else. So to be given an opportunity like, hey, I'm going to put you up for a, consulting role in a field you've never had any experience in does nothing without all of the preparation for those soft skills and the willingness to learn and all of those things. So, and just the same, you can have all of those foundational pieces without having an opportunity to present itself. You sometimes have to seek the opportunity. So for me, it's more than just being in the right place at the right time. It's really been pairing that love of learning, willingness to be prepared for whatever life might give me, and embracing the opportunities, even if that means taking risks to further my career, my family, my happiness, all of it. So I say luck.
Oh my goodness. Again, trademark. You need to do it. I'm telling you, you need to do it. So, Tara, how can people get in touch with you?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn. Obviously, you can find the QS Consulting LinkedIn page, which is actually Quodammodo Solutions. A little hard to say. You can find me on LinkedIn, Tara Jones. If you just look that up and see a very stern-looking, authoritative face in the picture, you can email me tjones@qshcc.com. You can message Lisa and she will send you my cell phone number.
Yeah.
Any
Yes.
anyway, and I'm going to DRI in Jacksonville in
Yes.
February. I'll be at DRJ
Shay.
in March in Orlando, and kind of I do the whole circuit. So look for us, and yeah, or you can also follow the Hampton Roads ACP page, because I am obviously as the president active on there, and we are always posting about upcoming activities and webinars and things like that.
And if you're in that area, please join the Hampton Roads
Yes, please
chapter.
join us. We are
Yes.
small but mighty. So
There you go.
if you are
Small but
in
mighty.
the Richmond or the Hampton Roads, Williamsburg, all the way down to Virginia Beach area, please reach out. We'd love to have conversations about how you can be more engaged in person.
Nice. Tara, thank you so much. This is great. I love it. And I hope to see you soon. And again, go birds.
And go birds. Here we go. Road to Super Bowl.
There you go.
I'll see you soon, Lisa.
Luck is preparation meeting opportunity. That's Tara's story. Tara's uncle saw her potential, but that introduction only mattered because she was ready. She had the soft skills, the willingness to learn, all the preparation that made her able to say yes when opportunity knocked. What are you doing to prepare for opportunities you can't even see yet? Connect with Tara on LinkedIn or at QS Consulting. Also, check out the events happening at the ACP Hampton Roads chapter. All the links are in the show notes. Let her know what resonated with you. Now, don't forget, subscribe to The Leadership Story wherever you get your podcasts and join our Substack community. Share this with someone contemplating their next move. I'm Lisa Jones, here to help you discover the leadership story you are meant to tell. I'll see you next time.